The stock market would look so much more different if more BIPOC, more people of color were investing, and it's so freaking true. And I'm like, this is why, because investing is a way to vote, basically. When you don't like something a company did, you sell out of that stuff. Actions speak louder than words, especially with the stock market. The stock market is the new democracy. Anybody can buy a stock. Even undocumented folks can invest in the stock market.
Hello. Welcome back. I am so excited for this conversation because Traveler Charly, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Traveler piece, and we'll also talk about Charly piece. But today, I really want y'all to meet Traveler Charly because we have talked about some spicy things in the past, and Charly has had me on the Millionaire Unicorn podcast. Unicorn Millionaire podcast. Which, by the way, 3 of my clients were like, I just love that you were on this podcast, just the branding and all of that.
Yes.
And it felt like a little bit of unfinished business from our last podcast episode. So we're like, let's trade spots and continue the conversation. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay. I'm so happy for you to be here too. So Charly, can you let the audience know who you are and what you do?
Hi, everybody. I'm Traveler Charly. I'm a non-binary Latinx money coach and heavily getting into DEI speaking engagements. And I'm helping my LGBT BIPOC clients who are making fuck tons of money but don't know what to do with it to work their way to early retirement and get on track to making $30K plus in passive income a year. And
Hold on. Say that last part again. The 30K plus in what?
In passive income a year, right? In our sleep by clicking buttons and letting the stock market do its thing. That's the goal. So I'm not trying to work forever. I love what I do, but I'm trying to chill on a yacht when I'm 75 in Greece.
I see that for us, like the caftans and the cute little beverages, like all of it. I'm here for that.
Not alcoholic, because I'm in my 30s and healing my gut, so.
I'm the same way too. That's the same way. I am so into mocktails right now. I don't know if you met Diego and Carla at Janice's event. They're like the cute couple. He was like the only guy that was in the front.
Oh, yeah.
So his wife, Carla, does the most amazing mocktails. And like healthy for your gut and helps you sleep and all the elixirs of life. And yeah, I could see this, the caftans and the mocktails. That's the vision that we have here. So I love that.
Name.
You know what? If we decide to do a spin-off of either of our podcasts, I think that's what it's going to be called. Yep. Can you share a little bit about your background? What made you decide to do financial coaching and what were you doing before that?
So I'm formerly undocumented. I was born in Morelia, Michoacan, Mexico, and came to the U.S. at age 3. So I was undocumented and did not become a citizen until age 21. And I got an awesome financial aid package to go to the cheapest school out of all the options. It was cheaper for me to study in Wellesley College in Boston, which is a women's college that changed the trajectory of my life. It was amazing being around so many women, not having to deal with the patriarchy for 4 years. And it just being there taught me to be a leader. That's why I sit in the front of the room. That's why I always ask questions in the Q&A and I don't shy away. And that experience really just propelled me forward to be a leader and be myself instead of staying small so that men can advance and make more money and take over the world. Yeah, but I did spend a lot of my 20s not wanting to make money because I didn't want to be an evil rich person. So I did the Peace Corps and AmeriCorps and was on food stamps and Medicaid. All the sexy stuff you have energy for in your 20s. But then at the late 20s, you're like, I don't have the energy to be exploited anymore. And I don't want future me to suffer like this. So when I was 29, I was like, I want a 401k and I want future me to be good. So I got a job as a stockbroker with no financial background, but they paid me to get my licenses and to learn everything I needed to. And I was doing that for a year at Charles Schwab. And then the boss, when COVID hit, even though I was making $45K, I saved some money and quit my job and moved to Playa del Carmen, Mexico, since I have dual citizenship, and started my business from the beach where rent was like $400 a month while getting my MBA that I got a full ride for, but that didn't actually help me start my business. So I invested heavily in business coaching while I was getting my MBA. And then I got it. I was like, I'm just going to keep working for myself. So I've been doing this for 4 years now.
Okay, there's so much to unpack. There are so many good things that you just said. I don't even know where to start. Okay, I have so many questions selfishly for myself. Let's go back to, so you're doing the Peace Corps thing and doing like the 20-year-old things and everything you have energy for. And then you switched to being a stockbroker. And so my first question, and this is a question that I think some people would have, is like, why didn't you go down the financial advisor route? Why did you choose to be a financial coach?
I was on track to be a financial advisor because that's what you do. You become a stockbroker, you get more licenses, become a certified financial professional or an advisor. But then I quickly realized that the people who would call, and the rich white people knew to call us in the first place. They knew you can call to us and talk to a stockbroker for free and ask dumb questions like that you can Google. Like, how's the stock market doing? And I'd like literally be Googling shit for the old rich white people that knew they could get away with this and ask us anything. One dude even tried to ask me how to fix his remote. I was like, I don't know. I'm not.
What?
Yeah, but the customer service was so poppin'. Like, management was listening in on all the calls. Those wires were tapped, so I had to be very cordial and nice. And then I was like, these rich white people don't need me to manage their money for them. They're fine. The people who are calling who are like 50 years old and have no money saved for retirement are the people that I need to help. So that's what motivated me to quit my job. Again, I've never made more than $45K. I've never made six figures. But I was like, this is effed up that COVID's hitting, stock market's crashing, and I'm pumped because stocks are cheap and I'm buying. And everybody who's marginalized needs to know about this.
Yes. So then you decided that you wanted to go to financial coaching instead of financial advising. And you also mentioned the MBA part because this is coming up for me right now. So I had reached out to my MBA program to say, hey, I just published a book and I would love to host an event for my fellow MBA alumni. And they came back to me in so many words and said, you have expressed frustration with the price of our MBA program in your social media posts. And I was like, I did.
Yeah, it's a scam.
And I was like, that's right. And I was like, interesting that y'all knew that and none of it has been addressed.
Yeah.
None of it has been addressed. And I said to them, and I'm like, and both can be true. I both can have had a decent experience in the MBA program, but also not be happy with the cost of it.
Yeah.
And if you would like to have a full conversation about that, happy to do that, right? And so what I'm jealous that you were able to, you said you got your MBA program for free or you got it paid for?
Yeah, a full ride. If I'd paid for it, I would have been pissed because I tried getting a 9-to-5 for 6 months with my MBA and I could not. I was like, thank God I didn't pay for this.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm just, now that was me just being like jealous that you got it for free and that's awesome. And but I paid $127,000 or whatever for this degree. And same thing as like, really the reason I brought that up is because that's a question that comes up a lot for me, which is, well, is it worth it to get an MBA? And truthfully, most of the people that I talk to, I say, unless you are specifically going to an MBA program because it's like a requirement, as in sometimes there's like exec level jobs that they want to see some sort of whatever, or if you're going there and you're a great networker, that's the other thing. If you're like an excellent, and you're just a schmoozer and all that stuff, like an MBA program actually I think could be okay for you, but for the vast majority of us, like it's just a lot of money for what, if you really want to run a business coaching, in my opinion, has also done a lot. So can you tell me a little bit more about what you thought you were going to learn in your MBA program that you learned in your business coaching instead, and why you found business coaching to be so helpful?
Yeah, going into it, I knew that the MBA was just a fancy piece of paper to throw in people's faces so that they could be impressed, which is what happens at 9-to-5s. But my clients don't give a fuck about my credentials. No client has ever been like, oh, where'd you get your MBA from? All they care about is the problem they have and if they trust me to solve it with them. It was funny because I did like a lawyer's chat, like a corporate speaking gig for a bunch of lawyers, and they're like, can you please give us your credentials, like where you went to college and your MBA? And I was like, oh, this matters for the 9-to-5, but not for my clients, for my mailing list. You're on my mailing list. You're never like, and remember, y'all, I have a business administration degree from, no.
Yeah. Yeah. Same things too. There are so many things that I talk about when I go to speaking engagements and nobody cares about my MBA. And it's funny because even when I do my bio for podcasts or whatever, it's at the very bottom. I happen to have an MBA, but really what people cared about is I paid off $300,000 of debt.
Yeah.
That I grew my net worth. I helped this many people. And so I love that we're having this conversation because I don't get to have this conversation very, very often with someone else who's gotten a similar path, at least in the aspect of, oh, let me get the fancy piece of paper. But really where the learning is coming from is learning from other people who've done the thing and actually like on the job experience. Let me ask you this. Is financial coaching everything that you thought it would be, or have there been some surprises?
Yeah, when I first got into it, I thought it was just like, I will help you learn how to invest. Let's click some buttons and then you can take it from here. Because I'm a Virgo and I'm very organized. And of course, I have childhood trauma and I'm on the spectrum, but I'm very much like task oriented. And I'm like, yeah, if I want to do something, I'll do it, even though I'm scared. But I quickly realized that I would tell people, yes, you need to open up a Roth IRA, and then they wouldn't do it. And I'd be like, why aren't you doing this? I told you to do it. You need to do this thing. And you paid me money to tell me to do. And then I quickly realized, oh, what I'm really doing is I'm a money therapist. Like, I need to help people process their childhood trauma, make them feel safe, make them feel like they're not alone, and really talk about money, because I'm the first person they probably ever talk to about money. And that's not a stressful last minute situation, because when you're growing up first gen as immigrant, the only money talks are bad ones. And so I really had to lean into being a money therapist and just talking about money and taking my time step by step with people, because even though I know all about expense ratios and Roth 401k limits, because I live and breathe that shit, a lot of people are just like, what is a Roth? So I've learned to just take it a step back and break things down simply for people.
Yes. And I was looking to the side here because I was pulling up one of your most recent emails because I just freaking loved it so much. Because you call one of your clients a Roth freak.
Hey everyone, it's Bernadette Joy. If you are ready to crush your money goals in 2025 and learn the simple, specific habits that can help you pay down debt, save more, and reach financial freedom faster, check out my book, Crush Your Money Goals. It has been approved by Oprah, so go check it out at Barnes & Noble's, Bookshop, Amazon, or check out the audiobook.
Yes, I'm converting people. I'm a cult leader, y'all.
And for y'all, you know what, like, when we edit this video, I'll see if I can take a picture of this and put it in the actual video of this, but I'm describing the photo right now, and it's this beautiful person, Michelle, with like beautiful like flowers and makeup on.
Folkloric Mexican
yeah,
with the Day of the Dead paint on her face.
Yes.
Salavera life.
Yes. And I mean, it looks like our friend Sandra, who does all these beautiful watercolors of different Latino folks, this is like something that I could see her totally drawing a picture of. And the client testimonial says, my biggest transformation was my mindset and freeing myself of my own limiting belief that I wouldn't be capable of reaching financial freedom. With that picture next to it, which to me is, whoa, if freedom had a picture, a sign, that would be it. Yeah. And I love that you are sharing these testimonials and sharing other people's stories, but you touched on that important thing, which is you realize that you are helping people also process their past trauma. So if you don't mind sharing to your comfort level, what kind of past traumas have you personally had to overcome that now makes you a great person for people who are also processing that trauma?
Yeah, I think just growing up in a household where my parents never should have been together, honestly, just starting from that. My dad was 29 and my mom was 17 when they got married after just 3 weeks of knowing each other. He proposed, they got married in a few months, and she was a child. My mom is only 21 years older than me. She's in her mid-50s and I'm 34. So I think that's just an important place to address and start from, that our parents' generation got married out of obligation, and that's why the divorce rates are so high, and like we're like traumatized, and like we're just like living with partners for a long ass time or delaying getting married. Like, I've never even come close to becoming married because I never had a model for a healthy relationship. I've never had a healthy relationship, and I've been single for 3 years, and I've been working really hard on unpacking a lot of childhood trauma of, just because people are married and together doesn't mean they want to be, and that trickles down to the kids, and the kids don't have a healthy template for a healthy relationship and a dynamic, and your partner is one of the most important investments emotionally and financially that not enough people talk about. You can't just be with somebody because you're afraid of being single and alone, because it's not going to work out for you.
Oh my God. I think I just found one of the many little nuggets that we're going to put as the quotations from this episode, right? Like you can't just be with someone just because you're afraid of being alone, right? And so I appreciate you sharing that, because that's something that I also can relate to, where I remember specifically a point where my mom, I only came into the realization that why there was so much like trauma for me growing up was because my mom married my father in order to get out of poverty. If I really think back to the time, and and think about what her beliefs were, that the only way that you'll be stable is if you get married to someone who's wealthier than you. And so I really appreciate that you bring that up, because that's not something that you're right, not a lot of people have talked about. And then using that as the model for what we're supposed to look at as healthy relationships. We're at a negative starting point to begin with, not even at base zero, right? So I appreciate you sharing that. And then my question for you, which is what continued to spur this conversation, was the fact that you are so unapologetic about how your business is growing, how many people you're helping, how your revenue has started to reach kind of different levels than you've been experienced before. The fact that you said that you never made more than 45K and then you just had 23 months is like significantly more than what you made if you extrapolate that, significantly more than what you were making in an entire year. And when I asked you about that in a previous conversation, you had said to me, I said, what do you think caused that? And in my head, I thought you were going to tell me like a funnel or whatever. I really thought you were going to tell me like, oh, I read this book, or I don't know, whatever.
Pros and Becky's marketing is what solved it all.
And what you said was, it was healing. It was healing, and you've been doing a lot of the hard work of healing. So what does healing look like for you? What are some examples maybe that you could share for people who are working through that hard process right now, of like a client that you've had that maybe was healing something through this? Like maybe they thought that money was the issue, but actually it was the healing part.
Yeah, just this year I've been healing a lot physically and emotionally. Like in May, I had the worst health crisis of my life, where I've always had eczema, but I never identified as somebody with a chronic illness. I was just like, oh yeah, eczema is this annoying thing that I have, but I mask with steroid creams and that I've been using for almost 30 years. But in May, my body was like, bitch, you're gonna pay attention now. The steroid creams are not gonna work and you are gonna have to change something. Like my eczema was so bad that my face, it hurt to smile. It hurt to move. And I had no idea what was going on, because I thought I was healthy. Like I always worked out. I ate salads. I would eat fruit. And then I hired an Ayurvedic health coach who totally changed just everything. I had hypothyroidism. Like my eyebrows disappeared. I was getting so cold for no reason, which made me chase summer more. Like I was living in Thailand in the dead of winter, Mexico in the dead of winter. I hated cold. I hated the snow. And that just made my inflammation even worse, to be constantly in the broiling heat. So it was like a snake eating its tail kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, you need to heal your gut. No more of these iced cold brew coffees first thing in the morning, because that spikes your cortisol first thing. You're going to have hot, basic, boring boiled water. I was like, oh, this is disgusting. So much reactions to this is disgusting. What do you mean I have to cook kale? And, I eat salads. I should be fine. But now I'm like, oh no, I had to heal myself from the inside out. And now I've been living in Seattle since August, because I like a good challenge. You should live somewhere with seasons. I was like, how about Pacific Northwest winter, where it's cloudy AF? And I can't believe how much I'm like glowing in January. And now I'm going skiing, and I'm going to Alaska. I'm pet sitting for a queer couple in Alaska.
I saw that thread!
In like the dead of February. I'm like, past me would heaven never. But these opportunities are allowing me to experiment and do new things, which is all about, that's what entrepreneurship is, because what worked 4 years ago is not going to work now. So I think healing my body has allowed me to embrace pivoting and exposing myself to new, different environments, while also giving up a lot of the travel. Like Traveler Charly was in the Philippines, taking one-way flights every week from El Nido to Manila to Boracay, but that travel was bad for my health. So I've also had to pause things and reset and rest and be accepting of more of the processes and where I am now, and embracing local travel too. That's definitely bled through to my business.
I feel like I need to like pay you a fee today for this session, because I didn't realize how much we had in common on that front, because I have eczema also. And so I have shared on social media that I have an injection that I have to take every 2 weeks that had to calm down my skin. And without insurance, it would cost me like $2,000 per dose. And right now, all of my medication has gotten paused because my husband's insurance got switched over to a new insurance plan. And so now they're like, oh, we have to reapprove everything because we want to make sure that we pay as little as possible. And so you can see like right now, like my skin, and today I'm really on this kick lately where I'm trying to, as much as possible in spaces where I feel like it's safe to do that, is I'm just not wearing makeup or whatever. I'm letting my skin heal and all of that. And similarly to what you're describing, just like my lifestyle was like making me sick. The travel, the not eating the things that I'm supposed to be eating. I too was told that I have to drink hot tea in the morning and not stop drinking this bubble tea garbage that I've been drinking all the time. And I love that as a kind of parallel to what you do in personal finance in terms of, a lot of people think that the root issue is money, but the root issue is your health. The root issue is your relationships. The root issue is how you're treating yourself and how you're talking to yourself, and then the money will come. And I can see that so clearly in your emails, because every time I open one of your emails, it feels like you're screaming me like the best way possible, as in, I'm so excited, I'm here, it sounds like you.
Thanks. Yep, I don't have ChatGPT templates, y'all. It is me writing every single email.
And so it's inspiring. It's inspiring to see someone who's just authentically speaking the experience and the experience of your clients. And so that leads me into this section of the conversation that I wanted to get your hot takes on is, at the time we're recording this, it's 2025. It's a week after the inauguration. It's everyone, we were just talking about this right before, everyone is talking about Costco is the only saving grace right now.
That's how bleak it is.
Which is sad because I can't even eat the hot dogs because it messes up my skin.
Right?
So what's your take on now for your community? Because you mentioned you serve specific communities that are being challenged right now, like being challenged for basic human rights, respect, opportunity, all of these things. And what is your take for people who are right now saying, you know what, this world, wherever we are right now doesn't feel like it's it, and it feels like it is actually going against my ability to reach financial freedom? What would you say to folks like that right now?
I would just say now is more important than ever to invest your money, because every day I thank God I understand how to invest, because it is very clear that these Republicans are making it harder and harder for us to build wealth. Trans rights are on the chopping block, and it's very scary right now. And I'm like, thank God, because I'm estranged from family. I don't have any family support either. So that's why it's really important for me to be on top of all my investments now. And it is hard. I'll be honest. It's hard with all this going on, seeing your stocks popping. Like the stock market's at all-time high right now. And that's a thing that a lot of us are struggling with. Like when he won the election, stocks were popping. Like it just feels so gross. And that's only because like corporations are happy that Trump's in office, because they know they're going to lower the taxes. All the billionaires were there at the inauguration. Like it just makes so much sense. But yeah, now it's more important than ever, because Janice from Yo Quiero Dinero podcast posted a thread this week where she said the stock market would look so much more different if more BIPOC, more people of color were investing. And it's so freaking true. And I'm like, this is why, because investing is a way to vote, basically. When you don't like something a company did, you sell out of that stuff. And actions speak louder than words, especially with the stock market. Like the stock market is the new democracy. Anybody can buy a stock. Even undocumented folks can invest in the stock market. So with things like Target and Walmart saying no to DEI all of a sudden, and then like Costco's the only one that's no, we're keeping DEI.
And our hot dogs.
And our hot dogs that we can't eat, but throw back to childhood where that was like a big deal, driving out of town to go to a Costco. It's just, it's important because money gives you options to like get the fuck out too. In 2020, like I said, I was only making $45K, but I still saved money to leave and start a business. I didn't win a grant or have a sugar daddy. Like I saved my own money to get out, and I spent 4 years on and off going back and forth. It was a really good reset for me to not feel like I was consumed by this government. It is nice to leave so you can be around other governments that aren't trying to like deplete human rights. Like places where they are like, cool, you're a human too. Great. Let's keep it moving. So all that.
I would also say that I'm curious, since you are Traveler Charly, where have been other places that you visited that if you weren't living here that you'd be like, oh, this is a place that I might be able to see for myself?
Is so low. So one of the recent places I went to was Thailand. I loved Thailand. They've been at the forefront of LGBT rights. I think they just allowed same-sex marriage recently, but it's very low cost of living and a very harmonious culture there, where it doesn't feel as like violent, which is why a lot of people, digital nomads, like expats, retire there to live. The food is amazing. You can go like play with the elephants. It just feels like so joyful and very stimulating for my artist self. I am an artist, but in the US it doesn't really come out as much. But in places like Thailand or the Philippines too, with all the tropical foliage, the contrast of the colors, like I was sitting in cafes just like drawing all the birds of paradise while I was waiting for my pad thai to arrive. And it just felt, okay, this is what life can be like.
Holy smokes. I'm sorry. This is totally not related to anything, but when you said birds of paradise, I'm like, wait, that's a thing? I thought that was just a yoga move. Because I'm like, what are birds of paradise? I really have to go look this up. Yeah, it's a plant. I'm assuming is based off the context of what you just said. See, I'm learning so much from you too. I love that. And the reason I asked that too is because a lot of the conversation, I just taught a class last night where there were several, pretty much everyone was BIPOC in the room, minus 3 people maybe. And so we had a very candid conversation of, there were some other Latina clients of mine in there. They were saying that they're having to deal with deportation and potential backup plans for a different type of emergency fund that other people just cannot even fathom happen to their family. And so I really love that you are, expressing that viewpoint of there are other governments, there are other places that treat humans as humans. What we've been fed here in the US to say, oh, this is the American dream. It's just like a lot of those people from my experience who try to challenge me and like, oh, America is the greatest. I'm like, where else have you been?
Literally. The American dream is to just not be in debt at this point and not have your human rights sabotaged.
Yeah, really, truly. So I just learned that you're an artist. I didn't realize that about you too. So that's pretty cool. What medium?
Since I travel so much, I like taking markers around me, but I love collaging. I like taking colorful prints and cutting them up and doing like underwater Little Mermaid scenes with the coral and stuff like that. Just vibrant colors. I love colors. And acrylic painting too.
Oh, I'm asking selfishly because at some point, like, when are you going to design a 2-piece line set? Because every time I see you, you're always wearing some bomb ass outfit. So when is it going to be? When are you going to design your own line? Is what
I should. That should be another retirement goal: designing my own clothes.
Okay, y'all heard it here first. Okay. We will replay which because it makes sense. Brand, right? Yeah. Oh, and you can make our caftans.
Yes, caftans and mocktails.
with your watercolor designs as the. Oh my gosh, I could totally see it. When you need an investor, you let me know because that is there's so many things in there, and one thing that I would love. So, on a more fun note, I get a lot of people who are asking about side hustles in 2025, and you have an awesome side hustle. Can you tell more people about what that is?
Yeah, so I pet sit full time. I've been doing it since I moved here to Seattle in August. I stayed with a really good friend of mine, Deborah, who's also a money coach at Be Money Coaching. She was featured in the New York Times recently to talk about bankruptcy. She's my chosen family. So I stayed with her when I first came here to check it out and everything. And then I decided that the Seattle rent as a single person is ghetto. And so I was like, I'm just going to pet sit full time. And that's what I do. So I use Rover, trusted house sitters, and also just word of mouth. I post a lot on my social about where I'm going to be and my pet sitting services too. And so that's how I'm going to Alaska. And then I booked a flight from Alaska to Portland, Oregon, where I'm pet sitting for a queer couple. It's a great way to make some side money, but also to just, for me, mostly save fuck tons of money on rent. Because it's a lot. Rent out here is easily like $2,500 for a studio 1 bedroom because you got all the tech billionaires living out here. Like, it's a lot. So I was like, no. And I don't want to live alone. I realized that I've had bad experiences with roommates. I'm very sensitive to noise, and I like lights out by 10 p.m. So living with other people isn't hot, but I don't like being alone. So I like having the companionship of animals. Like today I woke up with a dog and a cat nestled next to me. I was like, I love this. I don't like being alone because I did that in Indiana and I was like suicidal when COVID hit and I was like, this is not cute. So yeah, I love it for all these reasons. And I also will have some random gaps in between. I try to schedule out my calendar to have as little as possible, but on this weekend, I had 2 days off in between pet sitting gigs. So I'll rent a car and then I'll go skiing, and I'll either stay in a hotel or stay with a friend in between, which is still cheaper than paying rent.
Wow.
So it's a lot though. It's not for everybody, but for me it's worth it because I know I'm not going to have to do this forever. I'm literally doing this so I can stack my Roth IRA. Every January I max my Roth IRA. So my Roth already has $7,000 invested in it and it's growing. And I put $6,000 in my solo Roth 401k. I front load that shit because I don't pay myself a lot of money. So I'm very intentional with every dollar. And right now I have like less than $3,000 in cash, which a lot of people lose it over, but I'm also not paying rent.
Expenses are super low.
I don't have dependents. Yeah, my expenses are really low. So it works out for me. So I just want to shout out that your financial situation can be completely different. All my clients make way more money than I do, but they still come to me because of how intentional I am and how joyful I am with my money.
And I can see how that would attract clients to you in the sense of, similarly for me, on Friday I was at a TV station and the cameraman comes up to me. I just want to let you know I love following your content. I'm like, oh, thank you. And I thought he was going to say something about my personal finance stuff. And I love just seeing your dancing videos. Those are great. And I was just like, oh, okay, good to know. I don't need to post any personal finance content, because he said to me, similar to what you're saying, right? You make it look like what you're doing is fun. Mm-hmm. And I can see how people would feel the same way about you and what you're putting out into the world. And I also love that you caveated to say, hey, you're very transparent about how much money you make and how much money you have, so people can make a choice about that. And it would be interesting. It's interesting to say that people who make more money than you will come to you for advice because you're so intentional. Because we all know people who make a lot of money and are still broker than someone who makes way less money because they're not intentional about it. So that is such a clear distinction that you make that I really appreciate, because you don't often see money coaches going out there and saying, this is how much money I make. And if they do, they're usually making a good amount of money. And one of my favorite replies to a thread that I had was, someone said, between Traveler Charly and Bernadette Joy, I feel pressure to put money into my Roth IRA. Did you see that? Into my Roth IRA?
Like, damn peer pressure, and I was like, damn early retirement.
And I love that, right? I love that you're able to show, hey, you can be financially responsible. Hey, you can be an investor. Hey, you can also advocate for the rights of other people. And you can also have fun. Those can all exist at the same time, right? And you can also be healing from trauma. And you can also have a chosen family. And you can also love dogs and cats more than humans sometimes. Like, all these things can coexist. So I love that you shared that. And so if people wanted to work with you, how could they find you?
Y'all can find me shaking my ass on Instagram at Traveler Charly. People love my dancing videos as well, too.
Oh my God, next time we see each other, we need to do like a collab.
Yes. Yeah. And Unicorn Millionaire is the name of my website and podcast. I'm on Apple and Spotify. And the best are my emails, straight up. I send a lot and they're really good. I have an email series called Roth Freak Fridays. You can subscribe to that at the link in my bio on Instagram. And I do DEI workshops for corporations and libraries. I just did a class for a library on prepping for home ownership, but I still talk about the Roth, and I made some Roth freaks out of that. So, yeah, y'all can find me there. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. All the things. I can attest to Roth Freak Fridays. I love reading those emails. And y'all, if you've been following the podcast, you know that for the last couple of weeks, I've been unsubscribing from a lot of things, and I have not unsubscribed from Traveler Charly, because every time I open it up, it feels like a little loving punch in the face of just, ooh, life exists. Like, there are fun people. I love it. Because sometimes you open up emails, I'm like, oh my God, this is just so boring or so.
Becky's. I can't. No.
It's not that. I appreciate you for taking time with me. And for those of you, if you like this type of content and you want to support more diverse talent across all different fields, please be sure to subscribe using the button below, and we will see you next time. Bye.